Blended Podcasts. Brought to you by Blended Audio.
Exploring the unexplained,
breaking down barriers,
putting the macabre under the microscope,
dissecting the disturbing,
seeking out the sinister,
bringing you the jinkies and the jump scares. Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Freaky Fridays with your hosts Devin and Megan.
Welcome back.
Today we've got a pretty interesting episode. We're going to be talking about the various ways in which you can protect yourself from the evils of the earth.
Funny enough, this episode actually came up as a recommendation, not a recommendation, but like a question somebody asked to me. And that was, do crystals work?
Yes, I remember you telling me about this. Okay.
So we thought we would dive into that today. Well, we can't give you the all-overseeing answers because I think it's a very personal preference.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think you sort of have to do a lot of research yourself. I mean, we're going to highlight some things, but I think the best thing is to do is research it yourself and figure out what works the best for you.
Yeah, and I mean, I think throughout mankind's history, like using objects in all religions and cultures has been a thing.
Yeah,
and they get assigned meaning to them.
I mean, if you even look at sort of the origin of a lot of things that we use in Halloween, like pumpkins and masks and stuff, those were used as protection from evil spirits.
Exactly.
Back in the day.
No, and basically, people use these whatever objects to, I guess you could say these ceremonial or sacred objects, actually, that's a better word. And they use that to sort of compel and interact with the divine.
Yeah.
Whichever their belief is.
Yeah, that's what we're saying. It's a very personal thing. It's very much based around what you believe. And I'm not a particularly religious person, I'll say that much. I'm not particularly religious. I'm more spiritual. But there are certain religious, in inverted commas, things that I believe can protect you and that I use to protect myself when I'm investigating and stuff like that.
The exact same for me. I'm also not the most religious person, but I am spiritual, and I do wear just different pendants, not pendants. What would you call those? You know, the little necklace I wear with like the Morgan David and things like that. And that stems from sort of, I mean, I've got part of my family is Jewish, and that also came from my dad. So that created a lot of meaning and safety for me. And it's what makes you feel safe, what makes you feel comfortable.
It was a very similar thing for me. I think you noticed I always wear the pentacle pendant. And I'm not pagan or Wiccan or whatever, but it was given to me by someone that I was very close with, and that also in itself was like a very comforting thing for me. And since then, it's what I've worn on investigations or if I'm just sort of feeling unsafe in an environment. And yeah, that's my go-to.
Like I said, I think with no matter what religion, no matter what sacred object you have, it's the meaning you assign to it.
Yeah.
We can't say with any of these things, yes, they work, yes, they don't, or no, they don't work. It's very much what you've assigned to it and what you're putting into it.
Yeah, it's about how much you believe in it.
Exactly.
It sort of gives it the power, I think.
And that's at least my opinion. Yeah. I can't say anything for sure, but that is how I see it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think even straying away from protection, I think anything that you put enough belief and power into can be dangerous as well. So
it goes both ways, for sure. I mean, sacred objects don't just need to mean protection and things that keep you safe. You have cults who use objects to sort of inflict harm on others and to just do terrible things and have terrible energies attached to them. So it's not necessarily just a protection thing.
Yeah, it's very much what you sort of put into it, I guess. But we are going to break down a couple of different things that you can use. I mean, you might hear something that we talk about and it might have significance to you and could be your form of protection. One of those things is crystals. We spoke about it now. Someone said, do crystals actually work? I personally, I think it's the belief that you put into it.
Yeah, I've never personally had anything to do with crystals. I may actually own one necklace with a crystal, but I did not go and buy that for those reasons. I thought it was pretty, so
It looked nice.
so yeah, it's not that I don't really have any experience in that to draw on, but I know a lot of people do take that super seriously, the crystal thing.
For me, it was sort of, I'm not a big believer in crystals. I don't go out and buy crystals and, read up on them and stuff, but I'm the type that if I get given a crystal or if I buy something with a crystal in it, like a necklace or something, I do look up what that crystal is and what its meaning is and whether I'm comfortable sort of bringing it into my home.
Yeah, I do that too. And so it's interesting the things that people assign to it, like, oh, this does this for you and that for you and stuff.
I'll
also look it up.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was, but I think someone gave me a necklace with a crystal on it. And I don't super believe in crystals, but I did cleanse the crystal before I wore it with salt and stuff. So
that's actually another thing used for protection, salt.
Salt, yeah. I just sort of I think even though I'm not super invested in the crystal side of things, the person who gave it to me was, and I think it's just important to make sure that there's no bad juju attached to it.
Yeah, you never know what somebody's intentions are.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I think that's the kind of thought pattern that incites people actually getting into all this stuff, picking out different means of protection. It's because you never know somebody who's trying to push on ill intent to you, or something I'll actually get to know, the evil eye.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
I actually came across quite a bit.
Oh, I didn't even research that.
I've got a bit on that. It makes me feel a bit bad. We'll get to that.
Okay. Now I'm excited.
But I mean, for people who I'm sure everyone's got more or less an idea, but crystals obviously refer to some minerals that there's a ton of different kinds. And they each are obviously having their own purpose.
Yeah.
But people will usually hold them or keep them with them or wear them as jewelry for whatever purpose they've selected that crystal for. The general idea is that it's going to provide mental, physical, and just spiritual healing in some form.
Yeah.
But funny enough is, even though they don't have any scientific proof that crystals work for healing and that, they have found that when you put pressure on them, they create electricity.
Oh.
And that's why they're sort of essential in things like computers and quartz watches and microphones and that.
Yeah.
So they're used in that regard. So they already, we know, okay, they've got quite a bit of energy in if they can create electricity. As well as there was this company that made water bottles using crystal.
I think I actually saw an interview recently. They were talking about Gwyneth Paltrow's I don't know what her line is, her health line.
Yeah.
Goop or gloop. But she was selling these water bottles, just plain I think glass or whatever water bottles with crystals in the bottom, just glued to the bottom of the bottle, and she had no idea what it was supposed to do. She's selling it, but apparently that's really good for your health and healing. And
she's selling it, but she has no idea what it does.
I think that was the whole thing of the article. It was them showing her these products, and she was like, "Well, that's cool. Don't know what it does."
What people do is that these bottles that are made out of crystal. They tested the water quality, and it improved in so many ways. It improved the neutralization, it removed harmful substances, it improved the pH level, it upped the oxygen content in it, and it did a lot for that. So there are definitely positive effects coming from crystals.
Okay, well,
so it's not to say that it doesn't actually work.
Yeah, that's a lot of stuff that I didn't know, and I mean, it has a lot more credibility, I guess, to me now hearing that stuff. But I mean, I think the thing that's deterred me the most, and it's a really horrible thing, because it's just me being lazy, is that there are so many different ones.
It's such a complex thing.
Who has the time to go through the millions and millions of crystals and their names and their their things that they do.
And finding what's right for you and how to charge them, and
Yeah.
there's a lot to it. I think that's a good reason for me as well.
I mean, I think what I do is, because like I said, I do own some crystals and stuff like that. I'll sort of like pick a color or one that I think looks cool and then look it up and be like, okay, does this,
But that's actually what a lot of people do, and something you showed me recently where people say pick the crystal that draws you to it, where it's just like that intuitive, like it's pulling me towards it.
Yeah. But I mean, mine's a little more basic than that. Sometimes I'm just like, ooh, I love purple.
Mine too, actually.
Like, that one's an interesting shape. But I mean, yeah, like I said, hearing about a lot of the stuff that you just mentioned, it does give it a lot more credibility, I think. So I'm open. I'm open to crystals.
And then like we mentioned, there's other things like salt. I know salt in general is just like one big bad like punch in the face to all things that are evil. Supposedly, it's used in like every religion and culture.
I'm not gonna lie, my first introduction to salt being used for protection was Supernatural, the show. And I was like, did they just make this up or is that true? And then I did a bit more research into it, and like you said, people from different, religions and beliefs, and
it's used in so many different like places, and
I know I've used salt when I felt unsafe before.
I know investigators on paranormal shows and that sometimes use it as almost like a panic room when things get out of harm, out of like hand.
Draw a little circle in salt, hop inside, hope the wind doesn't blow. That's something I've always thought about, is because I do honestly believe in salt being a great form of protection, but what do you do when the wind blows and it breaks your line of salt?
Never thought of that.
I do remember someone saying something about, filling a hula hoop with salt and then just hula hooping your way around.
That's quite a funny picture, actually. Creativity, I love it.
Yeah, exactly.
I know smudging's another thing people do.
I've never personally smudged.
Me neither.
Never done smudging.
Neither have I, but I know I do know people who do it.
Yeah, I know a lot of investigators who I, look up to or admire have done it in investigations before to cleanse a space or get rid of an evil entity.
Yeah, the idea is that you take a bunch of dried sage leaves, and I think the point is to remove negative energy from the
so
space.
you light it and then you sort of waft the smoke. I think you're supposed to do it towards windows.
Oh, I didn't
or
even know
towards
that.
doors to sort of get this. Yeah, there's a specific way you have to waft the smoke, I believe. And I know a lot of people do it with feathers as well.
Oh, I've never heard of feathers before.
Yeah, some people just do it with their hands, and then some people do it with feathers.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, my research was not so in depth that I found out why they use feathers, but.
I know another thing people do, and I don't know if this really counts in today's topic, but while we're talking about protection, this isn't so much an object, but they do something called white light protection.
I think I've heard of that.
It's pretty much where you visualize this egg-shaped ball of light, and it's got to completely surround you, and you've got to keep sort of fortifying it and intensing it until it's like this impenetrable barrier that nothing can break through.
Oh wow, okay.
And when you picture it, the glow's got to be so intense that you can hardly see, and people do that as a means to keep things out and keep safe.
I know. I mean, I don't meditate often, but I've been looking into meditation and stuff like that, and I know very often they say surround yourself with white light, and I suppose that's so that you're not vulnerable while you're meditating.
Yeah, I have heard that. That's actually a lot of reason why religious people don't meditate, because it opens you up to so much. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things you just got to be smart about it and know when you're in trouble and when to,
No, I agreed.
When to say no.
Well, let's go back to the evil eye. Because
Yes,
I think
I'm
that's
so
a lot of
curious.
the reason people wear these things. It comes in so many different forms. That's supposedly the evil you are trying to protect yourself from in a lot of cases. Now, I didn't know this, and I'm very guilty of throwing people the evil eye often. Like if somebody's annoyed me or done something, I will throw them the evil eye.
Yeah.
But it's actually such a serious thing, and I did not know this. Some people take it so seriously. A lot of cultures do, because, and I mean, when you think about it, you actually, the intent is to like almost throw harm, not harm,
be aggressive.
but like
show that you're upset.
exactly.
Yeah.
But it in so many cultures, it's such a, like, people will take it very seriously because it's a curse that you're actually putting on somebody.
Oh boy. Well, now I feel bad.
It's just like, it's sort of, I'm guessing it is true. When you're giving somebody the evil eye, you almost like putting a bit of like bad vibes towards them.
Bad juju.
Yeah. And people say it ignites a string of bad luck. It can make your fortune dissolve. It can be like, it can cause a ton of different things, like annoyances in different ways, but you are putting bad stuff out onto somebody else, and it's like it's a curse.
I've never heard of it being called a curse before. That seems a little intense, but like, I do understand it in the sense of, we were talking about it earlier, if you are a very negative person, or you're in a very negative space, your energy affects those around you.
Very much so.
So I mean, if you're giving someone the evil eye, it's not a happy thing, it's an aggressive thing. So you're definitely putting that negative energy.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like
there.
When I'm giving somebody the evil eye, it's not because I'm so happy with you right now.
Yeah.
But you never actually give it much more thought than that.
Wow, okay.
And a lot of people will actually wear the evil eye in their different protection amulets or whatever they've chosen, because wearing it supposedly, what's the word I'm looking for? Not backfires, but
repels?
Yes, repels. If somebody gives you the evil eye, it sort of repels it back onto them.
I should just hand those out to people, because I'm very prone to giving the evil eye.
Well, funny enough, I didn't know I had one, but I had a bracelet I wore quite often, and it had these blue beads all around with a white circle in the middle and then a black dot.
Yeah.
And I had no idea that was it. That's the evil eye.
Yeah, I know. I know a lot of people put them above their doors. So that like when people walk in, the evil eye's like watching. It's like, hey.
That's quite cool. I didn't know. Somebody pointed it out to me. They said, oh, do you know what this is? I was like, no.
It's a bead.
I genuinely thought it was just a bead.
It's actually a really pretty bead, I guess.
It is.
A very pretty symbol.
I picked it. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I know that those beads specifically are a very big thing in the Greek and Turkish culture. Yeah. That's where they mainly use and wear those a lot.
I think they're pretty, and
so do
people around me should definitely start wearing them. Just sound like the meanest person.
But yeah, the evil eye is you giving somebody a look to inflict harm or suffering or just some kind of bad luck on them.
It's so horrible. I feel terrible.
Funny enough, so do I. But funny enough, they say you can give people the evil eye without even realizing it as well, just having negative thoughts towards them.
Well, I think that's what the scariest thing is, or like the part that makes me feel the worst, is that it usually is like, it's not even a second thought. If someone irritates me or aggravates me, I just, throw out the evil eye.
Exactly. You can even apparently give it to yourself. They say that if you staring into the mirror too long and you like praising yourself for or admiring yourself for the perfect skin or something that you have, you might wake up the next day to find like blemishes everywhere because you've given yourself the evil eye.
Wow. This is a lot for me to take in. I'm just going to put that out there.
But yeah, there's a lot of amulets and things out there geared specifically towards repelling the evil eye. I know might butcher this name, but the Hamsa or the Humsa hand.
Yeah. It's got the evil eye in the palm.
In the center of it.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's quite a few ones that work it into just the design.
That's so interesting because when I was researching, I was doing more protection against, the paranormal or like evil entities, and not so much specific things like, just negative energy or like bad juju. So it's really interesting.
Well, this is what I like. In a lot of the things I was researching, the evil eye kept coming up. And yeah, I always took it like it was more of a joke for me throughout my whole life. Like, I'm giving you the evil eye, I would use it in a joking sense.
Oh well, now we've learned something new, and we won't be so
I'm
mean.
offending a lot of people.
Just putting all that negative energy out there. I'm very, digressing slightly here, but I'm very, I believe very heavily in energies and like how other people's energy affects you, how your energy affects other people. So in all seriousness, that actually is something I'm definitely going to try to be more aware of.
Yeah. Yeah, what are some others? I know, like I said, I wear the Morgan David, and that's the Star of David, which a lot of Jewish people will not technically, but generally wear. And yeah, that's been associated with Jewish people for centuries, actually. Some Jews will put it on their tombstones. It's even in the flag of Israel.
Yeah.
And like I said, part of the reason I wear that is because my father gave it to me, so it's got a lot of meaning for me in that way. But it's also
very comforting, I guess.
Yeah, and the six-sided figure is supposed to symbolize that God rules over the universe and protects us in all six directions: north, south, east, west, up and down. With the middle of the hexagram actually representing the spiritual dimension. And yeah, I'm sure everybody knows what it is, but it consists of those two equilateral triangles sort of overlaying one another to make that six-pointed star. And yeah, it signifies protection. It's a shield.
Yeah.
And yeah, that just resonated well with me, and it makes me feel safe.
I think, even though, like I said earlier, I'm not a particularly religious person, just religious symbols in general, I find a lot of comfort and protection in. Like I said, I'm not pagan, I'm not Wiccan or whatever you want to call it, but I was very comforted to wear a pentacle because it was given to me by someone who I was very close to, and, you know, it was their religion, and it just, you know, he was like, this is protection against, you know, negative
that's
energies.
nice, actually.
So it was very, it was very
good
comforting.
intent in it, and
Yeah, so I think, like I said, any sort of religious artifact,
the way it is,
symbol, I think, like I said, if there's enough belief in it, no matter whose belief it is, if there's enough belief in it, then I think it does its job.
That's very much my belief system in life. If you put good energy out there, you put good things out there, it'll come back to you.
Yeah. I mean, not to be said that you could just, like, you know, pick up a Barbie doll and be like, I believe this Barbie doll can protect me.
No, that's not what we are referring to at all.
Yeah, like, I think, it's got to be a well-known sort of thing.
Well, another thing that, now that I think about it, another form of protection I actually do have is the mezuzah. I don't know if you know what that is.
No idea what that is.
It's also actually a Jewish thing. And it's like this, it's a little small parchment and scroll.
Oh, okay, yes I do.
Up on my door frame. Yes, I don't know if you've ever actually seen it.
Yeah.
But a lot of Jewish people will have those up on their doors. Like I said, you put it on the door frame, and it's got the Hebrew words of the Shema handwritten by a scribe on there. And then those scrolls are rolled up, and it's put into this kind of container, and put up on the door posts. And it's sort of got a connection to God and their heritage, which is why it's very prominent with the Jewish culture. But I use that. Yeah, no, it's for some reason a very different thing, but it sort of reminded me of the Lord's Prayer. Again, not super religious, but I know that if I'm feeling very panicky in a situation where I don't feel safe, I immediately recite that in my head, and it makes me feel more comfortable and usually sort of, what's the word? De-escalates the situation. Yes, okay, I know what you're talking about. But I mean, it comes in all forms. It's not necessarily jewelry that you wear. Like I said, even dream catchers. Yeah. Dream catchers are a means of protection. People, that comes from the Native Americans, and you put that above your bed to catch the bad dreams and let them... Definitely had dream catchers in the early 90s. I still do. But I mean, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of things that you can use to protect yourself, and like we both said, it's a very personal thing. So I think you do need to go do your own research and find out what resonates with you and sort of go from there. Yeah, and join us next week, because we have a very exciting episode that Devin can hardly contain herself for.
It's going to be really good. That's all I'm going to say.
So we'll leave you in suspense there and you can join us next time.
Cliffhanger. Well, yeah, catch you guys next week. Cheers. Freaky Fridays, hosted by Devin Beatty
and Megan Portnoy, and produced with the generous assistance of Janu Blau
and Blended Podcasts.
Brought to you by Blended Audio.